It is my great pleasure to welcome the wonderful Patricia Clarkson.
Hello, hi. Hello. Is this working?
Yes.
Oh,
I wanted to start by asking you, when you were first having conversations about this script with Gillian and with Jean-Marc Vallée, what were some of the first things that you wanted to know about the character and story that weren't necessarily in the pages before signing on to the project, or was it an immediate yes?
No, it wasn't. I think anytime you take on someone like Adora, you better think hard and long, and you better know if you have the resources and the stamina. So I think I had the advantage of I hadn't read the book, and so when I got the offer, I remember I said to my agent, I said, before I talk to Gillian and Marti and Jean-Marc, let me read the book. And Gillian frantically called back and said, no, don't tell her, don't read the book. Yeah. I said, okay, relax, I'm not going to read the book. And so I came at this just knowing, I knew what the story was, I knew the character, but I didn't know the full scope of Adora, and that maybe saved me. Because I think as actors, we always think we have to know everything. I think that's a fallacy. I think we have to know what's in front of us. And I knew what was in front of me. I knew what was coming to some degree. But Gillian is a powerhouse. She's just this a dreamboat of a woman, and a fiercely intelligent and funny and warm and wonderful woman. I feel very, I dine out on the fact that I can call her my friend. And so she was winning. I mean, I had this amazing conversation with her about this rather frightening and untoward character. And so she sold me. She was powerful enough. She had enough ammunition to get me there. And then I talked to Jean-Marc. Patricia. He was like, you come on, there's Adora. You're going to dance for me. I said, I'm going to dance? I said, oh, I'm there. I said, that's exactly what Adora needs, is dancing. We didn't talk about anything else. We talked about me dancing. And I thought it was the most perfect I thought of this woman, this tortured, fractured, mentally ill, brutal character, but what I kept in my heart, and I know this sounds corny, but I kept her dancing in my heart. And that's what carried me. And I don't know how other way to say it, but that's what wooed me. And Amy Adams, of course, too. Amy was very adamant that I do this, and I'm forever thankful to her, as you could see at the Golden Globes. Yeah, come on. You know, it's hard to lose, but it's hard to win, and but it's better. It's way better. It's way better, but it's hard too, because you don't want to screw up, and of course you forget a few people up there, but I do know this, is that Amy was adamant that I do this, and was instrumental in me doing this. So I still owe her so very much.
Yeah, she's astounding in this. And she was also an executive producer, and it wasn't a credit that she took on as a vanity, that she wanted her name on a credit in the scenes.
Not in any way.
So what did that change for you, having someone that you're playing against in scenes? Did it offer anything additional?
You know, Amy and I, our journey was so tormented and yet exhausting and exhilarating and all at once that I never thought of her as my producer. I really the only thing I could handle was her as my daughter. And so every day I'd see her on the set, "You're my daughter." Okay, I never thought of her outside. And then I got to know her as a friend, which is, again, I dine out on that. And, you know, she's just a beautiful, incredibly funny, lovely woman. And I feel very fortunate to have worked with her and to know her. And, you know, we've seen each other a lot lately, and we kind of get girly when we're not Adora and Camille. We're quite goofy, and, you know, I mean, we're quite silly together if you saw us in our gowns, and we're like, you know, I mean, I was like, oh, my God, if people could see us now, Amy. But it's nice because I think we were able to depart from those characters. At times we had to, you know, at the end of the day we had to. So we had each other's back.
Yeah. Is it harder to depart from your characters when you're doing on location work? So you don't have your everyday life. You're not going to the store around the corner.
Yeah. It was difficult. I did something I've never done. I was in Los Angeles for 5 months. We went to Ukiah to shoot, and then we also went to Georgia briefly. I went to Georgia just briefly. But the exterior of my house, that big wedding cake of a house, was in Ukiah. But I never brought Adora home to New York. She never stepped foot in my apartment in New York. Which I've never done. I've usually, when I've been shooting something, I've come home if I've had a break or a thing, but I let her just live where she needed to be, and I didn't. I have one of my dearest best friends here, and he knows. He was like, "When the hell are you coming home?" I said, I'm not. I can't. I'm just going to leave her here. And I think as actors, it's important for us to know that we do have boundaries and we do have limits, and we can sometimes not handle the scope and the depth of a character we take on, and it's all right. We might just have to just be and let it sit with us and not go and see all the people we love and all of our friends or visit our family, or, you know, we might just have to be in that space. And it's maybe best for us. And, you know, I just turned 59 and I'm still learning things, as we all know. That's why as actors we hope to work till we're 100, because we get better. And, you know, we learn things. I learned something new playing Adora. I learned a lot.
Yeah. I've also seen interviews where you've talked about you grew up in New Orleans, and I think you've been asked a lot about growing up in the South, and that wasn't the community that you were existing in, but you knew of those women. So when you were mapping out how you wanted to approach playing Adora, what were some of the traits and characteristics that you'd seen in these women in your life that you started to recall?
Well, it's fortunate. She's not really someone I knew. She's not, thank God, not my mother. My mother was like, "Patty, that was not me. That was not me." I said, "Mom, relax." Maybe a touch. Well, yeah. No, it's more an amalgam of like a lot of these women, these, you know, these Southern women I've known, these very glamorous women I've known, these very society-oriented women, these women who have a position. But then it's all so radically different, because when you add the Munchausen, the medical, the severe mental illness she was dealing with, you know, it upsets the apple cart. So everything you think you're going to be attached to has to kind of slide. It gets oily. And that's what she was. She was slippery to me. She was such lightness and darkness. And But yes, I think having grown up in New Orleans, I grew up very middle class. I grew up very, I went to public, high school. I went to public schools. I was a cheerleader. I grew up in a very, very middle class household. But I knew these ladies. There was a touch of my grandmother, not in Adore, but my grandmother had a certain position. And thank God she was actually a very big liberal and a beautiful, stunning, brilliant woman. But I know these women. I know them, and so it wasn't a far reach. Many other aspects of Adore were the much bigger. Were almost a bridge too far at times.
The voice that you came up with is so astounding, and even just the way that she whispers everything slightly, which forces people to come closer physically. How did you land on that being her voice?
I don't know.
It just is.
I had a great acting teacher at school, and he used to dance with Martha Graham, and then he taught movement. And he taught me one of the most important things I've ever learned. He said, and he had this really strong accent, like this New York, it's like people. Hey, people. The body never lies. The body never lies. And I think once as actors, we find somehow when I found just the carriage of Adora, the certainness of her statue, of her physicality, somehow, I don't know why, my voice, I have this big boomy, my voice faded, and I can't explain it, but the voice followed my body somehow. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. It just suddenly, I found her in a I don't know. My body informed my voice, and I think that's always a good thing. I remember when I played Greta in High Art. Remember? Yeah. And it's that I don't know where that voice. I used to talk to my dog in that German voice, and
your dog has seen many sides of you.
My dog. I don't know. I think the voice comes with the body, and once you start to know and feel where you are, and I don't think you know everything up front. I don't think we should as actors. I think it's important that we don't have everything. There are so many scenes in this. I didn't know what was coming at times, and it was fabulous. And I would wait to read the episodes. I didn't want to know, so that it would just wash over me. Yeah. I wouldn't have a lot of time to intellectualize and judge. The worst thing I think we can ever do to the characters we play is judge them.
Which actually is one of the amazing things that you brought to this role. You created this character where we wouldn't necessarily behave in the same way that she does, but you understand that she's also part of this cycle of abuse as well herself, even if we don't know her backstory. So how did you kind of find those redeeming qualities or moments or understanding who she was and where she was coming from?
Well, because I think she was a severely abused woman from as you know, at the very end, you hear about what my mother used to do to me. Mm-hmm. It is cyclical violence and abuse, and sadly, it often it repeats itself. And I think she had a deeply traumatic childhood, a very traumatic first marriage. She survived that, and I think the Munchausen was some way of her survival of all of that, of her way of pulling out of all of that, which is not uncommon in Munchausen. Munchausen manifests itself for many, many, many reasons, but one can be abuse and neglect in a life, in a childhood. And so, she just, it comes back to, it makes me a little emotional, and I'm sorry. It comes back to, she was, I think, a woman who was incredibly capable of love and a life that she should have led. And sadly, she was brought down. And so and she was horrific and brutal and untethered. But I do think what I tried to have remain with her was that this was a woman who really wanted love and to give love and wanted a life that would have been better. Unfortunately, she ruined lives, but I don't think that's not for me to play. It's just for me to be. And that's how I got through a lot of those scenes. Is there wine here?
Yeah. One of the most powerful scenes for me watching it was the scene with you and Amy in the dressing room when she finally steps outside, and the way that she can't even look at her own daughter in that instance. Had you seen Amy's scars and markings before that moment, or did you save it till you were on camera?
Well, I had seen them at times in the trailer, but what was great was that was such a brutal day. I saw them in full for the first time, and so everything you see when you see is again, the body never lies. I mean, Amy taking her dress off and opening that curtain. My heart broke for Amy, for Camille, for all of us in that room, cast and crew. These are brutal things to shoot, but it was tough. But I knew I'd seen some of the scars. I just didn't know the extent, and in a way, it was good that I saw it really in all of its, totality, all of the markings on that beautiful body. I saw it in full, in that scene.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about Jean-Marc Vallée's incredible directing. He's astounding. And it sounds like you guys didn't necessarily rehearse scenes on set, that you just went straight in and he filmed everything that you guys did.
From beginning to end, beginning to end, beginning to end. There was no let's just start where you drank the water. No, come in the door, say hello, put the package down, do the thing, and then open the... Jean-Marc, can I just pick... Nope, come in the door, and then... It was... but he's right. The truth, the depth, the breadth that he required from you every single day. Again, I learned things. It shifted me as an actress to work with someone of that high demand and truth and emotion. When you're boiling water, the water has to really be boiling. When everything had to be true, everything had to be in the moment. He didn't... It's why I think as actors, the more directors we work with, because I think we have to be ready, willing, and able to work with whatever the demands of that director are. We're not the directors of this miniseries. I'm an actress. I have to know what I'm doing. I have to have done my homework. That's the most I can do, is show up prepared. But whatever direction he wanted to take me, I had to be very prepared, because Jean-Marc shoots a lot on the fly. He's very improvisational. This is how he would direct. I have a theater voice. I'm not in. This is how he would direct. He'd be like, So you come in, you put the chair there. Maybe you go over, you say like, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then you take water, and then you decide you don't like the chair there. And then you decide you don't want water, you want wine. And then you put it down, and then you open the fridge. And then he goes, okay, let's shoot. So it's quite stunning because all these things you had in your mind for this are gone. But it's beautiful and it's stunning because you have nothing and yet you have everything. You have everything you need if you've done your damn homework. And you have great actors. You have Amy, Eliza, Chris Messina, Matt Craven, Elizabeth Perkins. You have the greatest actors on this planet. You just gotta roll. You gotta go. You gotta be. You have to just live. And it was such an amazing time and everything. And he started from the beginning to the end, from the beginning. He rarely, unless we were very out of time, he would do like a pickup, but it's so rare. It was always the top of the scene to the end, the top of the scene to the end, the top of the scene to the end, on every character. So I think it made us better actors. I do.
And he did the same with dialogue as well. Like he would just suddenly be like, oh, you're doing this extensive monologue, but also let's throw something else in there.
Or he'd say, but say something about your wallpaper. I was like, get the fucking set designer on here. Can I say that on a SAG?
Yeah.
After talk? I was like, God, where's this wallpaper? I knew some things about the house, but, I had to talk in detail that it was from Paris and it was based on this or that. He would just say something about this, say something about that, or dance, or do waltz, or, do it, come down the stair. You just never knew. But it was also kind of exhilarating because it was free form, and yet all the dialogue was very much there, and all the characters were very established, and the world was very established. But it sent you into I was like looser. It was just, I had no fears, and that was maybe what was most important, because I think as Adora, it was it could have been a very classic case of true fear about this character, and I think he helped alleviate my fears because I just threw caution to the wind, I had to.
Yeah. I have to ask, story-wise, maybe out of my own curiosity, how much do you think Adora knew about what Emma was doing?
I think she knew. I think Adora was very good at compartmentalizing her whole life. I think she could know something and not, and know it and not, and know it and not. And I think that was very much a part of her life for most of her life. She was very good at knowing something and then not. I think she was very good at ignorance and false awareness. And I think she probably knew more than you would imagine. Yeah. She's very smart, Adora. She's very smart.
So we have a couple of questions from the audience that they gave us earlier. I wanted to ask this one because we have two different cards, one from Mark and one without a name on it, but someone else, who both were curious about what is your process and your first step in developing your character whenever you take on a new role. What's the first aspect of them that you want to determine?
I think it's important for me. I don't like to look at the script a lot. I like to think about the emotional life of the character. Because I think once, again, it's a little like the body. I think if I just try to think about the emotional life of the character, what she loves, what she doesn't love, her frustrations, and where her heart really lies in her life, her love life, sexual. I mean, I think it's just knowing the emotional life of a character. I think you have to know that first. So I don't look at a script a lot at the very beginning. I don't want to have words in my head. I want to have feelings in my head. I want to have emotions first and foremost, because then they will dictate and they will carry the words. But if they're just words, then I haven't found the emotional life. I think you can be caught up short. Yeah.
And then I have one from Paula, who was saying that your performance in Pieces of April is one of her absolute favorites, and was wondering if you might be able to share a standout memory from that film.
Well, that movie was shot for $500,000, and so my favorite. We had no, God forbid, we had no trailer, dressing room, honey wagon. I mean, nothing. So we were in that little station wagon. I don't know if you remember the little station wagon. And Oliver Platt is a 6'6" man. Okay. He was larger than the station wagon. I mean, he's just this big, tall, beautiful, ridiculously yummy man. And so every time, we would shoot the scene, with all of my children, John, and we would sit in the car, and then we'd shoot a scene, and then we'd be sitting in the car, and we'd just stay in the car. We had nowhere to go, and then the producer would knock on the window and say, like, "What do you want for lunch?" And we'd say, like, "Tuna, chicken salad." And then he'd knock back on the thing and hand us each a bag and of our lunch. And so, but it was there was something very beautiful about all of us in that. It was my fondest memories of me and Oliver and those two gorgeous actors, just all sitting in that car all day, eating our lunch together, shooting this beautiful, beautiful film with no money, no time. But I have extraordinary memories of Allison, John. I just have extraordinary memories of the closeness I found in that little station wagon, and it will never leave me. The feeling I had of eating a tuna fish salad sandwich in a little tiny station wagon. And that's just I wish I had something funny or crazy to say, but I loved every moment of that. I really did. I did.
Yeah. And then obviously you're on every single awards ceremony red carpet right now. I'm curious because there's been a lot of pushback against.
Exhausting.
It seems exhausting.
I know. It's good. It's good problems to have. Good.
It's a high-class problem to have.
So high class.
There's been a lot of conversation in the last couple of years about the questions and the approach with women on red carpets, from when they used to have manicams and make you put your manicure on close-up, and even just the gaze of the camera coming low to high, and some of the questions that you would be asked. Have you noticed any shift or change in the things that you're being asked now, or is that still very much manifesting?
No, I don't think anybody's going to. Well, they still want to know who you're wearing, and there are still a lot of questions. But I think it has shifted. Thank God. I think a lot of things are shifting in our industry. Thank God. I think the time has come finally. I do think Hollywood now knows that. Not only is it cool for women to lead projects, we make money. and we win awards.
And there's studies that show it now.
And so I on the carpet. No, I think I would say it's more. They do want to ask you real questions now. I mean, they want to ask you who made your dress, but they move on. It tended to be more fashion centric, and I would say now they are more interested in, how, your life, your character, how you're feeling. It has the tone, the timbre of the red carpet has shifted, and it's for the better, very much so for the better.
And then in your Golden Globe speech, I loved the moment that you were speaking to Jean-Marc Vallée and saying, you demanded everything of me except for sex, which is as it should be in this industry. But it was so poignant. Like, I feel like everyone was fist pumping watching at home. Was that something that you planned on saying, and why did you feel important to include it in the moment?
I thought about that line on Friday night before the Sunday. I saw him at this event, and I said, what the hell am I going to say about Jean-Marc? I love you. You ruined my life. You're extraordinary. Oh my God, I hate you. I knew it had to have some juxtaposition, and I don't know. It just came to me at this event we were at, and I was like, oh my God, you demanded everything of me, except sex, which is exactly how I did. I said, oh, can I remember to say that? You're so nervous, and it's such a weird thing. And Amy was so sweet and emotional, and there were a few people I left out, but hopefully, it's tough. It's a tough moment, but you want to have enough composure to get through something. And I really did want to get to my mother and father without music. I have had. I think I'm able to play these incredibly damaged and fractured people because I have a remarkable mother and father that have carried me, and every step of the way, every day. And I'm 59, and they still help me. They're stunning. They're stunning. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight, and congratulations. This is truly such a remarkable performance, and you deserve every accolade that comes your way.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you. Thank you.